it's 11 o'clock. The agenda of today, I will be presenting CABI to you. Then very quickly, I'll try to make it as quick as possible. And then I would like Dr. Sayed to start the first part of Journey of Publishing. Next week, we're going to have a second, and the week after, we're going to have the third. And after Eid, we will do the same again for 3 webinars. So if you have any question, please put it in your chat, and we'll be able to answer you. Okie dokie. So are you all happy and okay with English? Because we might have some people from Turkey or other places in Africa where they wouldn't be able to understand Arabic. Cool, great. So let me share my screen with you with our first presentation. Some people that maybe know me or saw me in some universities, they might know CABI or saw this presentation. And that's why I'm going to be a little bit, let's say, quick in this presentation. Yes, somewhere. And then let's start. So CABI, Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International, that's what CABI means. CABI is not for profit international organization, and our objective is to improve people's lives. And I always use the slogan of lose less to feed more. So we want to lose the minimum as possible of our crops, and also try to feed as much possible people around the world. So we have some charts. I will come back and look at them in a minute when I finish the presentation. What do? We address the people, environmental issues and agriculture issues through science, information, and communication. And what CABI makes CABI unique is that we are not just a publisher. We publish books and content. We are actually knowledge provider. We do have some scientists work with us. We do have laboratories, and we work with farmers around the world and Ministry of Agriculture to set up and help them in the agriculture system. On the other side, we work a lot with universities. We provide them with content like journals and ebooks. And that's really the unique that makes a difference, that we have real life practice and hands-on. So from here, as a brief, we've been created in 1910 and established by a United Nations treaty. We have 49 member countries, and we are all over 21 countries with big and small offices. These are the member countries. As you can see, the biggest office is in the United Kingdom, Britain. However, we do have offices with reasonable size in Kenya, India, Pakistan, Ghana, for example, and many other places. However, we also have a nice sizable office in Switzerland, and we do also have another office in Canada. So our main activities, okay, I'm not sure how to see the chart. Control H. So I'll come back to see the charts in a minute. Let me finish. So what are the main activities? We have international development and research, where we do have programs and international programs. Those programs, for example, something called PlantWise. Please go online and put PlantWise from CABI. You will see many information and actually a website. I will put it in the chat about PlantWise. And you could see videos about what we do. Many other programs like invasive species and many other programs that we work with many our donors and partners around the world, like United Nations, like European Union, like Bill Gates Foundations, and many more. The other part of our organization, we call it publishing. Basically, the publishing is the ebooks and the e-journals like I was talking about. And here we go. We have ebooks, we have e-journal, we have databases, that's what we call them, online resources, and we have compendiums. And I hope that I will have a chance today to show you some of the content after Dr. Sayed's presentation. So this is what we could see. From 83% of our content is journal, conference proceeding, gray literature, books and chapters, and others like content, like, thesis, bulletin, and editorials. So the main subject areas that we cover, as you can see, animal sciences, plant sciences, forestry, aquatic sciences, environmental sciences, food sciences, human sciences, and tourism. Very quickly, I may go and show you what do I have in every of these main subjects. However, you could see on green that we call them records. When you say animal sciences, we have almost 2,000 records, and most of them as well in full text. And so 2 million, sorry, 2 millions, because as you can see, and the orange one tells you how many of that is full text. If I go to animal sciences, you could see dairy sciences, animal sciences, animal breeding, animal nutrition, veterinary medicine, animal parasitic, and veterinary, etc. And then plant sciences, as you can see, is the different subjects from horticulture, plant breeding, plant nutrition, plant production, plant pests, weeds, and so on. And then forestry, and you could see the sub collections that we have, from forest and forestry to forest pests and diseases, etc. And then aquatic sciences, aquatic fisheries, aquatic animals and plants, environmental sciences, and this is other subjects that are covered within the environmental sciences like soil, water, and bioscience, invasive species, and so on. Food sciences, food chemistry, food processing, food safety, and food economics, etc. Human sciences, where especially that agriculture is linked, and as you could see the coronavirus, agriculture and veterinary, it's very linked more than ever with human sciences, and the corona is the best example to mention this to everyone, that veterinary science and agriculture are so important in everyone's life. So we could see the human science, nutrition, food science, and medical, ophthalmology, and so on. Tourism, we mainly focus on the sustainable tourism and the ecotourism, but also we cover other subjects in tourism like the hotel industry and sports, because they are linked to each other. As you can see from the geographical coverage, you can see here mainly from the Western world like Europe, North America, and Australia. However, we are working hard to increase from other parts of the world like Middle East and Asia and so else and other places. This is a very general and generic presentation about CABI. And if you have any questions, I wanted to try to go as quick as I can, so at least we can move to, sorry, I need to exit this. Stop sharing.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I have a question about your literature publication. So, what about the index? There is a essay index or it's corpus index about your ebook or literature.
Okay, what is the question about ebook?
Is it yes, ebook and literature survey papers and indexing? What is the indexing of your literature?
Okay, let me ask another question. Are you asking how, if you would like to index
Yes,
journal with CABI?
yes, yes.
Okay, I will put a link for you in the messenger because I'm gonna pass the presentation to Dr. Said now to go through
Okay,
only how to publish. Then I will be
okay,
into the questions are in the messaging and I will be answering each one. And I will put for
okay.
you a link if you would like to apply in indexing your journal within CABI. We are very open and happy to help journals that go through a selection and hopefully can get indexed with CABI.
Okay, thank you.
Was the voice clear for everyone?
Yes.
Good. So I hand over to Dr. Sayed to talk about the journey to publish.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim, and thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. It's a pleasure to be with you all, going with you over the journey of international publication. This journey is going to be divided into three parts. Today, we're going to go together through the first part of it, and then we're gonna move on in the next session and the session after to go over the next two steps. I hope every one of you guys hear me well. Are you?
Yes.
Okay. So
Can everyone please mute yourself because we're hearing some noises. Make sure that you mute yourself. Dr. Sayed, we can hear you perfectly. Thanks.
okay, great, Ibrahim, great. So as we all know, if you want to accomplish something and you look at it as a whole, it looks much bigger than if you split it into smaller parts and have sub-objectives and break your journey down into few stops that each of them are closer to you and much easier to achieve. It's like going up the stairs. If you look at the top, you feel like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to put all the energy to make it to the top. But if you break it down into smaller steps and look at each step on its own as an objective and work towards it, that makes the journey much easier. From my own experience, publishing the first paper was really difficult. You look at it and you see yourself, going through uncharted territory. But once you go through that journey once, it becomes easier and easier each time. And I'm gonna share some insights with you, some of the things that as a let's say an early career scientist or a faculty member, I learned along the way. So here is how I broke it down. We're going to talk about the motivations. Why do we need to publish, or why do we want to publish? The research study itself, and then how to select the journal, then writing the manuscript with all its pieces, and then the submission process, and navigation, the peer review, how to communicate with editors and reviewers, and eventually how to make sure that your publication is delivering its intended impacts. In this session, we're gonna go through the first three steps. The next session, we're gonna devote it entirely for writing the manuscript. We're gonna go over each part of the manuscript and share some thoughts about the writing process. And then the last one, we're gonna go through the last three parts from submission to delivering impacts. So starting with motivations, why do we publish? I'm sure amongst us there are grad students, master students, PhD students who are required in many universities to publish a certain number of publications with, in some cases or many cases, very specific requirements, such as a certain impact factor as a minimum, or a quartile as a minimum to meet that. Also, we might have young and early career faculty who is required to publish certain number of publications to make it to the next milestone in promotion, or someone who has a grant that has been funded, and the funding agency is requesting that. So that's the probably most of the reasons. And additionally, for sure, we want to spread the knowledge and to pass what we learn from our science to others to learn from. So if we look at the graduate students, why are they required to publish? Typically, the graduate programs require students to publish because they want to assure that they have picked up and learned the qualifications of scientific writing. So the student, yes, publish to meet the requirements for their graduate school, but also by publishing, they show that their scientific writing is quality assured by experts in their fields. So it's a very good step for graduate students to publish their research. The other thing is to meet the requirements of funding agencies, and some funding agencies are very rigorous about the requirements of publication. This is an example of a grant proposal that I applied for like a year and a half ago. And as you see, one of the key requirements is the applicant must have 3 publications in the most cited international journals or periodicals in their fields. For a student or for an early career faculty who just finished their PhD, this is very tough. But that's why publishing as a graduate student is very important. That puts you on the right path when you start your faculty position, or even if you start your industry position. Whenever you apply for fund, there will be something related to publication there, and it is not clearly stated as a condition. It will be one of the criteria that will be used to judge your, let's say, resume or CV. So for funding agencies, they even require the projects to be published. And the reason for that is they usually are publicly funded, or even if they are privately funded, they want the fund that goes to the funding agencies, which is transferred to the research project, to be translated into scientific publication, to make sure that the knowledge that has been generated is going to be go back to the public, to inform the public. And if it is private entity funding, they will want to make sure that this money is going back maybe to them, and they're going to receive credit for funding research. Most of the private agencies will get tax credit for funding research, so they get tax break for it. They sometimes require the certain quartile for the journal, or they put like a minimum impact factor for the research for the journal that you publish in. I wonder if you guys could kindly mute your microphone, because I still feel like some of us still not muting theirs. Okay, thank you so much. As we all know, currently the quality of the publication is mainly measured by the impact factor of the journal that it has been published in. And as we all know, that the impact factor takes into account the number of citations in the last 2 years divided by the number of published papers in the last year. And usually the journals are being ranked based upon their impact factors into four quarters. The 75 percentile and above, that's the quartile 1, and quartile 2 and 3 are divided in 25 percentile increment, as we all know. This way of judging the impact of publication is not a fair one, and is not an appropriate one in most cases. And we're gonna go over why. As you know, it's the impact factor of many journals probably is driven by few papers, which might have like high citations. So if you have a journal that published a paper that is driving a lot of citation, that will take everything else up. Also, the impact factor is field specific. For example, in humanities, the impact factor for journals is really low. That's not because the quality is low, it's because of the nature of the field. There is no that much citation for in humanities. And but if we compare that to biological sciences, the situation is significantly different, you know. So if we talk, let's say, about 1 as an impact factor for a journal, for humanities, that will be huge. But for biological sciences, you may think that maybe, oh, other journals might have a better impact factor than that. The other thing is, it does not differentiate between primary research that took a lot of effort from people to work in the lab or in the field, comparing to review papers that just review what has been published and cited. The other thing too, people usually tend to cite review papers more than the actual research papers, and we will come into that in a moment. The next point is that the impact factor could be manipulated or gamed by editorial policy. And I'm going to share a couple of examples here with you guys. And some of you might have been through this before. In some cases, when your paper is once your paper is being accepted, in that same acceptance notification email, some editors tend to recommend some papers that are relevant to the research, and it's not an accident. Those papers are mainly published in the same journal, and it comes with, you know, a kind recommendation from the editor, like, okay, thank you so much, it's our pleasure to congratulate you on having your paper accepted and published in our, you know, prestigious journal, and we wonder if you could take a look at these papers. We think they are relevant to your research. Please check them and see if they could be cited. In this case, they are suggesting you to add 3 papers that will go to the nominator of the equation of the impact factor, and they will be divided by 1, which is your paper that will go into the denominator. That means they assure, if this principle applies to all, you know, to all papers that are being accepted, that means the impact factor is not going to drop below 3 by any means. So that's one of the ways. The other thing is, and some of you might have been through this before too, is if you're trying to publish a paper late in the year, if it is getting accepted around, let's say, December, you might experience some lagging from the journal to finalize the process and getting it published. Usually they try to avoid that, because if the paper is published in December, this whole year will be counted for that paper, and it might not receive any citation at all, for a whole year. And all what is left for that paper to make an impact on the journal's impact factor is just 1 year out of the 2 years that was supposed to be counted for. So if by pushing it to January, that means the whole year is not going to be counted, and it's going to count starting from January the following year, and it will have 2 full years to have a good impact on the impact factor. So these are 2 of the examples that I could think of and I could share with you. The last reason that the impact factor is not a good way of judging journals, or let's say is not a good way of judging papers, is that the data used to calculate it.
Can you please everyone mute yourself? Everyone. There is a voice of a baby can be distracting for other people. So please mute yourself.
Rahim, I might think that if you might be able to recognize the names just to text to write to them in the chat window.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna try to be silent just to give you a hint.
Over to you, Said. It's okay. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ibrahim. So the data being used to calculate the impact factor is neither transparent nor openly available. And as you all know, if you have a child and you ask them what do you have, and they hide something behind their back, you definitely know that there is something wrong there. So whenever we lack transparency, we cannot assure that things are being done appropriately. So and that's the last reason that might make you rethink of judging, let's say, papers by the impact factor of the journal they have been published in. Therefore, a group of publishers and scientists came together during a meeting in California in 2012, and they said, well, enough is enough. And they thought that this is not a good way of judging research, and especially the published ones. And there should be another fair way and another more efficient way of judging research. And it's worth mentioning that there were a lot of journals participating in that. They named the initiative the Declaration on Research Assessment, or DORA. The Declaration on Research Assessment has been a big movement since then, and it gained a lot of support worldwide from journals, from institutions, from agencies, and basically they put a main principle, which is we should assess research on its own merits, not based on the journal in which it has been published, because as we said, that's not fair. And they didn't just put that recommendation and moved away. No, they put a very nice, detailed alternative metrics for fair assessment of research outputs. And they put a lot of recommendations for funding agencies, for institutions, for publishers, for researchers, and even for the organizations that supply and design and calculate the metrics of publication competence. And through this series of workshops, we will visit those principles whenever they apply. And I really encourage every one of you to search the Declaration on Research Assessment online. They have a form that you personally could sign and join the movement. Also, you could bring it up to your institutions to consider and to sign. So it could be signed by individuals, it could be signed by labs, it could be signed by institutions, it could be signed by agencies like funding agencies. Please take a look at it and please join the movement and help everyone else making sure that our research is being credited appropriately, regardless of the impact factor of the journal it has been published in. My understanding is CABI has been adapting these principles for a long time. And that's why in CABI, they have like over 13 million records of high quality research. 80% of these records are only available through CABI, which means that they were well ahead of everybody else on judging research based upon quality. The other thing too is our motivation for publishing should aim at improving people's lives. We shouldn't just do research for just doing research, you know. It's very important that we make a difference with the research that we do. We spend a lot of time and a lot of effort and energy and a lot of money to conduct our research. And if our research is not feeding back in the system and is not making people's lives better, that means we're not getting the most of the positions that we held, of the facilities that are available to us, and also we're not getting the most out of our time. And this is one of the key aspects of CABI. That's their main focus, as Mr. Ibrahim kindly indicated in the introduction. The last thing in this point is that we shouldn't just make research or conduct research and write manuscripts to get them published in journals and just stop there, because our research is supposed to help the whole society, and not everyone can read English, not everyone has access to the scientific journals, and also not everyone could understand the scientific language that our research is being written with. So we should make sure that our publication is being delivered to our people, to the society. So if you know that your society has a limited access to English material, probably we should think of writing summaries in our own languages, and making sure that these summaries are being communicated to those who need it. And in this aspect too, CABI is taking a very good approach, because they have material that is being published in more than 40 languages, which is a very good step in delivering science to those who need it. So with that, I think our motivations for publishing could be redefined. We should rethink it and reconsider why we publish, and try to put bigger aspects into that, not just to meet the requirements, not just to have a higher H index, or we could put a lot of those highly motivated drivers, like helping society, solving big problems in your own society. And whenever you put those big, objectives and aims, your energy is gonna change dramatically. And I'm speaking of my own experience here. Once you shift your thinking into doing something that is bigger than you, that's gonna help more people than you, that's gonna improve lives of more people than you, believe me, instead of feeling like you're climbing up a hill, you will feel like, no, you're sliding down. I mean, it's gonna go much smoother and easier on you. With that, we're gonna move to the next point, which is, okay, I'm very motivated to help my society. I'm very motivated to make the most out of the position I currently held. I really need to help my people. I really need to educate my society and the whole humanity. What topic will I study? What topic will I study? So what is the actual research study that I'm gonna conduct? Which is our next point. What makes a good research study? If you think about it, well, just in like 15-30 seconds, think of what makes a good research study to you. Is it a study that is very complicated, or is it a study that is very simple? Is it a study that uses like basic infrastructure and material, or no, it has to be a study that is using the cutting edge technology that might not be available to you? So what is our idea about a good research study? And let's put the question in a better frame. What is a good research study from publishers' point of view? What makes a good research study that you can publish in good journals that can deliver knowledge to people that could make difference in people's lives? So we're going to break that down into three small pieces. The first thing, and we could all agree on this, it has to address some significant research question. And also it should use appropriate methodology, and we say appropriate here. And eventually it should yield some interesting results. So we need to have all three pieces together to have a good research study. We're gonna briefly go over them one by one, starting with the significant research question. To be able to publish something, the research question you address should be clearly defined, and it should have clear implications. So if you're running an experiment that doesn't clearly define the problem, it's not going to be published. It's not going to be published. People are not going to get the point if it's not clear. If it's something that has no implications, even basic science has implications through applicable science. It has to have some sort of implication that can be clearly identified. But what if I want to make a bigger impact, just more than just having a publishable quality? How can I get some high-profile research topics? One of the key ways of doing this is to work on emerging and severe problems, like coronavirus, let's say. This is a letter that was sent from Frontiers. They were talking about creating a new, let's say, highway for publishing research on coronavirus to deliver the knowledge to the public. And they sent it to everyone, to editors, to authors, to members of the community, making sure that, okay, if you work on this severe emerging problem, you will be prioritized. You're not going to be in the line. You're going to have your own line, which makes, those kind of problems some very high profile ones. The other thing is, if you work on a persistent problem, something like elevated carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that doesn't go down, that has been with us for a long time and we cannot solve it. Something that has significant implications. Maybe like the previous two examples that we talked about, or maybe something else. Something like, let's say, autism, or whatever topic that you could come up with in your field that is emerging or persistent, that has significant implications. And the last point, which is very important that we typically overlook, is studies from understudied areas of research or understudied areas of the world. So you may think, okay, I'm from a developing countries. We don't have that much infrastructure to do research, but that means there is no a lot of research done in your country, and anything you do is going to be looked at as a high-profile research, because you out of nothing you're making some good research. That means your research is worthy of publication and is going to be looked at as a high-profile research by publishers. And I encourage each one of you to look at your own field and see what can you do differently to make your research publishable if it is not already in that category, or to increase the profile of your research if you are already conducting publishable research. I'll give you an example in my own research. I studied the impact of air pollution, specifically with ozone, on crops. Although this problem causes yield losses of 70 million tons globally, it's like 15% of the global yield production of wheat. Until now, there is zero publication on breeding ozone-tolerant wheat varieties, which is astonishing. We knew this for a long time. Wheat is one of the most sensitive crops, and it's the cornerstone of global food security. However, this problem has been addressed till today. So once I switch to this, it makes it very easy to get that 2 million Egyptian pound funding for that project that I saw you guys the requirements for previously. So once you switch your thinking from small scale impact into a bigger impact, everyone is going to be in your side. Funding agencies are going to be in your side, and whenever you write something about it, publishers are going to be in your side too. So please think about that for yourself, and I'm sure you will come up with a lot of improvements that you could make to your own research. The next point is, after I define the significant research question that I'm going to spend my energy, my time, my money, and the position I held on, what is the methodology I should use?
May I ask a question?
Okay.
About significant research question, because I think most problem for researchers are that journal want something new, something innovative. So it's if my field of research is like say is regional, so it can't be something innovated on the world, but it is I applied the same method in my country. So I think publisher or journal don't like such as research.
Well, I'm kind of I agree with you partially, and I can provide some advice on the other part. So if let's say my area of research is not moving fast, and I can only conduct traditional research. That means any slight improvement is going to be appreciated for such, let's say, a stagnant or not quickly improving field of research. So that means you don't have to come up with a huge improvement to make an impact. Even the slight improvement is going to be important in such area of research. The other thing too is if let's say you're doing some basic research in a developing country, you're not going to be compared with people who are using the cutting edge technology in different countries, because you guys are not going to be in the same category. They will be judged by the the infrastructure that is available to them, the quality of research that is being generated in their geographic context, and you will be judged by the context around you too, which I believe in this case will be in your side. I hope that might have answered your questions, and if not, I will be more than happy to continue this discussion with you personally. So appropriate methodology doesn't have to be, you know, a very advanced one. It should be something that is available to you. So if we think about publishers, what kind of methodology they would prefer to have? They want to have known or modified methods or new methods, but they should be clearly defined. They have to be clearly defined. So it's okay to have, like, you know, an old method that is still being used till today, as long as it is suitable for your research. If you can't do what you want with the current methods, it's okay to come up with a new one. Make sure that you follow the proper steps, and we'll go through over those in a moment. If you want to have a high profile method, then you would look for the best known method to use, or significantly advanced one, and you don't have to come up with something that is, you know, beating everything in the world. It should just be the best in your context, good in your country, making something useful in your context that has not been useful before. The other and last point in this regard, which is very we usually don't think a lot about, is the scale of the research. If you're working on a small scale, if you scale it up, that will make your research method highly appreciated. Like, instead of working on a plant, an individual plant, maybe make a community of 5 plants or so. If you're working in the lab, maybe think of working on the greenhouse. Maybe take it one step further, go outside in a semi-open system, maybe in an open system. The more you go towards nature, and the better your research is going to be. So think of what kind of change in the scale of your research would you make to make your research in a better situation, or maybe if people are studying something at a bigger scale and they cannot look at it closely, if you could come up with a way to look at it more closely, that will probably will make a bigger impact. So in this regard, if you are working with established methods, this method has to be correctly chosen, appropriately executed, and appropriately accredited, appropriately credited. So you give credit to those who actually established the methodology, not just a review paper that cited it. And this is one of the recommendations that the Declaration on Research Assessment emphasizes for researchers in recommendation number 16. They encourage us to, whenever appropriate, we should cite primary research literature instead of the review papers, because now if you cite the review paper, you're giving credit to those who actually didn't do the actual hard work. They didn't work in the lab, they didn't work in the field, they just wrote a review paper about it. But so you could cite the review paper for its own conclusions, but not for the methodologies that they're just citing. So this is one of the things that we personally should do ourselves. If you are using new parameter or new method, it should be correctly proposed, clearly described so people could repeat it, and appropriately verified, which is something that we typically forget to do. So if you come up with a new method, maybe you need to show that it is working, maybe by comparing it with the established ones. and show that yes, it is yielding better results. And if you are modifying an old method, the old method should have been appropriately chosen too, because it has some flaws and it could be improved, and you should give credit to this original method. And then you should apply those principles of new methods on the modifications that you apply. So you justify the modifications, you clearly describe them, and you verify that the modification you made is really making that method a lot better. So these are the kind of things that we need to, and the principles that we need to apply to make sure that the research method that we are using is really making that big impact. The last piece of that part is the interesting results. And by interesting results is the results that you come up with should be clear. People would understand them easily, or at least you can explain them well. They should be well presented, means you should good visuals like figures and histograms, or maybe flow charts, anything visual that would help people who can understand well by visuals. The results should further our understanding of known phenomenon, or maybe present new ones to us. Also, the results, if you want to make a bigger impact beyond just having publishable results, if you want to have high profile results, they should be very clear, very clear. As my advisor in my PhD used to say, he came and checked an experiment, and he looked and he said, you know what, Saeed, you don't need a PhD to tell the difference between the treatment and the control. That's what you should look for, something that yield some very clear results, and you should take that into account when you design your experiment. So you don't use some very close treatments that you're sure not going to are not going to show differences. When you choose treatments, make sure that you're choosing them right to yield clear results. They should be well presented in the best way you can. Also, they not just only report on a phenomenon or a known phenomenon. The phenomena itself has to be significant, or maybe new, or maybe unexplained before. The other thing too is, and sometimes we underestimate this last point. Sometimes you come across some unexplained results, something that goes against the consensus. And this is very important, especially for graduate students. And don't shy if you come across something that challenges the consensus, because you may have found the door to a really very important breakthrough. So don't shy away. Bring it up, talk about it with your advisor, talk about it with your colleagues, and see if you could explain why the phenomenon you are studying is not obeying that consensus. And if you might be the one that finds the point that breaks that pattern, and that will be associated with your name, and that will elevate your profile. So these are the points that I have as advices for you. For the declaration on research assessment, in this regard, we should challenge research assessment practices that only rely on journals' impact factor. And we should promote all practices that focus on the value and the impact of the research that we do. So the next step is, okay, how are we going to search the literature to find these topics or methods or results that will motivate us to do research, that will help us to select the appropriate methodology, that will help us to judge our results and to know where they land exactly in the spectrum. Are they publishable? Are they highly, let's say, high profile research? We need to search the literature to be able to do so. And this is our last step here. Well, I'm going to go very quickly through those some examples of CABI resources that could be used, and I'll hand things to Mr. Brahim, maybe to do a demo for those. So for research, you can find research paper if you search something like CABDirect. CABDirect has like over 13 million records that you could use. And if you know your research point, then CABDirect is the place to go. If you need to branch out, maybe Thesaurus and will be a more appropriate method to start here and then to move to ScienceDirect, to branch out from the very narrow point that you're thinking about and maybe broaden your perspective a little bit. If you're looking for something that review. If you're looking for a review paper, then CAB Reviews is the platform that you would go for. If you're working on an organism and you need to know more on-ground information about it, maybe you need to look for a fact sheet on CABI Compendia, which will give you all the details on an organism, or maybe a plant species, or maybe a microbe, or yeah. Or if you want to look for a certain crop, then maybe you could go to Compendia tool for that, which will give you some applicable information on that aspect. Or maybe you could read some recent book or a book chapter that has been written in your field or your area of research. That could be easily found. On CABI ebooks, where you could have access to like 500,000 books, 500,000 books that you could
Sayed,
yes, Brian.
do you want me quickly to share my screen? If you stop your screen so I can show them the CABI platform.
That's what I was moving to, Brahim. So please do.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Sayed, for the valuable presentation. I hope it was beneficial, and I think we still have some slides, right?
Yeah, we have a small piece we're going to finish up with.
Okay, great. Before I give you to finish the slide about the journey on publishing, I just would like to share with you people, everyone, the CABI portal. So if I share my screen very quickly, and then it's, where is it? Okay, hang on. It's not this one. So it has to be this one. CABDirect. Please tell me if I move the screen and if it doesn't work, say you can tell me.
Yeah, you haven't shared your screen yet, Brahim.
Yes, I know. So here we go. So for the people that, I know some people are here from different places. So if you are from Egypt, you could use the EKB. If you are from Tunisia, you could use the NUTS. If you are from Turkey, you could use ULACBeam. If you are from Saudi, you could use Saudi Digital Library. So in every place, it should all, if you have your own institution, have a subscription to CABI, please go directly to CABI platform. It's so easy to go to CABI. It's cabdirect.org, very easy. And then Mr. Aboudi Fadia, can you please mute yourself? And then you go to login. Either the access will be authenticated directly via an IP address, or your institution should give you an access to CABI via username or password. And if your institution doesn't subscribe to CABI, please ask your institution to contact us, because we don't give trials to individuals. We only give to libraries or institutions. Otherwise, you could actually, as an individual, go to CAB website and buy your own access as an individual. Okay, so cabdirect.org, and you could see here all the product that CABI has, but you don't, as an institution, for example, you might not have all these products. These products are, all the products are open in CABI. As you can see, there are different subjects: horticulture, medical, dairy science, animal science, e-books, and CAB reviews, CAB abstracts, and compendiums. I can search straight from the main search box, or I can go to the advanced search box. So easy. If I put pest here and then I press search, very quickly will open for me. So if I can see, this one with the orange means I have the full text. But if it's not, and if I'm not in, because some people are really interested in every record or in every article, so they can open everything. But if you are only interested in the full text, you go here on, could see it here. So let me close it, I'll show you. So there are different filters here. So you could define by topics, by organism, descriptors, by year, by document type, so many other languages. So if I am only interested in English, and I'm only interested in French, where is French? Here we go. And we have a lot of others that are not indexed with the languages. But if I also indexed it Turkish, and then I put okay, and then I have filtered my results to the languages I'm looking for. And as you can see, because I also clicked on the full text, it gives me the full text articles as well. So if I click here, it gives me the full text, depending on how big the full text is. So I have here Turkish Journal of Agriculture, but the article is in Turkish. The abstract is in English. And you could either download it or print it as you wish. It's very easy, like any other platforms. If you have been to other websites of, for example, Scopus or anywhere, EBSCO, anyone, but we have a very nice features here. I can filter by year if I am only interested on the latest 10 years only. So it gives me, for example, here more limitation in terms of research and research results. So again, I have these results. And if I am interested on the HTML, not the PDF version, I click here to get what is this article is about. And then here's the abstract of it. And then if I wanted to print it, email it, or if I want the citation, again as well, depending what software you are using for your citation, and you can export it in whatever format you want. And here, if you want citation only, on citation and abstract, or you want to take it the full record, you click export, it takes you there. If you are working, if you are registered here as my CABI, you can create your own account. If you are not registered, here we go. So if you are not registered, create an account. If you are registered, okay. I can't remember my password. So, but I think it will take me through. So what do we benefit from registering in CABI. Basically, if I am working here, so I update my profile and I go and I could put my ORCID ID here as well, and that helps me to have my own sort of area where I have all my search histories and all the what I have searched before and so on. And also I can work on specific projects. So I could go back to my search and I could see what I searched and when. And here, came here on the 7th of May, I've done some searches. You could see all the histories I looked for, and also now. Also, I can create a project, and then in this project, I created a project before. I can create new project, and that helps me to add any article or anything that I see here. Could create a new project, but I also have this project before. So if I'm working with a team or group, I can save all my searches and documents into projects, and everyone can go into this project because you can give it to all your colleagues and tag them so they can see what you have searched, or maybe as a group what you are searching for. So if I go back to and see here advanced search, but also I can see this one at the front. Either I go back home and I could see the advanced search here again. Like any another platform, it's not complicated. I simply wanted to search for many things together. I'm sorry here, so I wanted advanced search. So if I look for best and in what crop, for example, tomato, and then and or not, as you all know. And then if I want to filter per year or by a specific date, and then I go search, it will search the two things for me, pests and the crop that I'm looking for. And the same thing here again, as you can see, you can filter your search as you like, and then you select the specific years that you wanted to, like we were showing you. So moving further, and if I wanted to show you something interesting, because this filters helps you to search, to narrow your search. But if you wanted a broader search, meaning I am working on rice, but I don't know what are the diseases in rice and what can I search in rice, I'm still doing new. I go to CABI thesaurus, as you can see, and then to show you thesaurus is here. So I clicked on this one and opened this from rice and then click here, enter. So it gives me, it broaden my view, and it gives me other things that I might don't know. So rice black stick virus, which I never heard of. I want to see, and I have this one, for example, another thing. And I have rice blast disease. I don't know. So I click add on each one. It goes to this box, and then I say send to CAB Direct. What's going to happen is going to search into CAB Direct and give me the results for me. So what's the difference is between I go from an advanced or a keyword search, I know what I want, and I can filter straight to what I'm looking for as an article. But if I use the thesaurus will help me to see something maybe I'm not aware of or something new. So that is generally on how to search the advanced basic search and thesaurus. Also how to look into my CABI, my history searches and the project, how I and I email and save. And that is very generic. You could put any comments there and question and I'll try to answer. But if I want to go back to home and I'll show you something different from the journal searches, which is the compendium. So I'm looking for the crop protection compendium. Where is it? Here we go. So here it's called, we have crop protection compendium. We have invasive species, animal, aquaculture, forestry, horticulture. All this are compendiums. So what is a compendium? If I click on this, it opens another page for me. And this is the compendium. I need to log in. When I log in, me see, I have saved it somewhere. So I'm logged in and I can see the compendium. The compendium is a platform with data sheets. As you could see here, data sheets, basics and data sheets, sorry, in full. If I click here, it will take me to the full data sheets. Really nice. I love compendium, really, really exciting. So there are many pests and diseases and crops. As you could see here, we have 2,795 of pests, plants, a natural enemy, and so on. Plenty of great data sheets. We have the full and also we have the basics. So if I just click anyone, it says full data sheet here. So it takes me to a full data sheet. This could be used for you teaching, or if as you are students, for your research or preparing an assignment. And you could see the data sheets here. That's his table of content with all the details here. We've got here distribution map. If I click on the distribution map, it tells me this disease, where it's spread. Okay, and then I could see some records. This is in Nigeria, and then who did it, and so on. So if I go back to top of the page, and then if I wanted only to go to pictures or identification. So here we go. And so many other information, as you can see, from pictures, identification, descriptions. There should be symptoms somewhere and so on. So if I wanted this disease and I want only few things from this graph to take it away, either to teach or to use it for my revision. So there is up here something called generated reports. So here, click a generated report. And I say, I want pictures, I want identifications, and you click here, right? And I wanted some impact, and I wanted some risk introduction, and distribution table, and description. And then I say, no, I don't like description. So easy, I highlight it here, take it out. And then I come here and say, generate a report. A report will come out, and then I can use it, I can export it, and I do whatever I want with it. So these are the data sheets, and that's the same for every compendium. However, for the CPC, we have something that's more exciting, which is called Horizon Scanning Tool. So if I click on Horizon Scanning Tool, and then there is a free version comes with it, and there is another one that is called Premium. So if I select a country and I want to work on Egypt this time, so let's go down. Oops. No, I don't want Ecuador, I want Egypt. Alrighty, Egypt. Yes, here we go. This is Egypt. And I say start scanning. And then what's going to happen is going to tell me, are you looking into neighboring countries of Egypt, all of them, or you're only looking into Sudan, for example, and Libya? Or if you wanted all the continent countries here, so all in Africa or Antarctica, Asia, Europe, North America, etc. Anyway, so you could go select a specific country, or if a country is not included here and you want to add. So if I say I'm going to add Tunisia, and then I click Tunisia and say add. Then I say submit. So the system is going to look into what are the diseases or the pests that are available in Tunisia, Libya, and Sudan that are not available in Egypt. And it gives me this list. And if I want to take one and say take Tunisia off, and then the list might be changed. It was 652, now it's not 392 species. But Indian mallow, I don't know what is this. So I could see it here in CPC full. It means I have a full data sheet about it in the crop protection. If I click on it, it opens it for me and I can have all the details about this pest. Okay, so I don't want to hold you for a very long time. We've looked into the journal searchability. We looked into the compendium. Very quickly, I'm going to take you to the CABI ebooks. Not everyone has CABI ebooks, but that's why I just wanted to very quickly show you. Okay. And I am here. I have an issue. Why is this? Okay, hang on. I clicked on the wrong button maybe. Maybe I've been logged out. Let's go home. Then I only wanted the CABI ebooks. And then here we go. And you could see the books are agriculture, animal, veterinary, environment, human, leisure and tourism, and plant science. So easy. If I know the book, if I have it, I just go to, it says subscribed, so because I'm logged in. So I can click on it, it opens that book for me, and I can look into the chapters, and if I am interested in a specific chapter, it tells me view the chapter, and you can see the chapter here. Only the chapter that I'm looking for. And if I am looking into the whole book, it tells me here view the book. And I can see the whole book. And if I wanted to search into the books, and I say here, say Lime, for example, and say search, it's going to search into the books and give me the results. And then I can have either the chapters or the books. You could see the collections in here if you want to go to the authors or the geographic location of the authors. And then subject topics. So if you're talking about Lime or you're talking about go to the specific book. Okay, Said, I think I have covered the three main products that we have, the journals, also the compendiums and the ebooks. We also have something we call it e-learning, but I'm afraid at the moment we're not able to go through it now. Okay, so there are many questions here. I will try to answer them and I will pass, but can you please mute yourself if you don't mind, to say it, to take, finish the presentation.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Maybe we still have like two more sessions to come. So whatever we didn't cover today, we will have enough time to go over the next.
Yes, I will. Oh yeah, I'll mention that in the end. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the very interesting live demo, Ibrahim. That was very informative. So now that we finished the demo, we're gonna move into the last part of the presentation today, which is gonna be like few slides. I'm not gonna hold you guys for too long. So now we have our own motivations. We conducted the research the way we love it to be, and now we are thinking of where to publish it. So how do we select a journal? How do you choose the journal to publish in? So that's a big question. You know, everyone at a stage of the study. So some people decide early on. Some people have no choice. So maybe the funding agency have decided for you. Then you have to follow that. And maybe for some students also, this is something that might probably they're advising an opinion, a previous opinion about. So they may not have the will for it. But if you have the will to choose, then here are some advices. The best journal to your research probably is going to be the journal that you will cite papers the most from in your manuscript. If you submit it to them, then they will see, okay, yes, we have accepted papers in that topic before. At least they're not going to say it's not in our scope. The other thing too is journals published by scientific societies, and this is a very good advice that I hope you will gonna benefit from. So if you have a scientific society, let's say in my field of research, I study plant pathology. So there is the one of our friends is
plusieurs années. La science, c'est pas arrêté. Donc c'est toujours intéressant, toujours important de rester à jour par rapport à ce qui est publié. J'ai envie de dire.
I wonder if you kindly could mute your microphone. Thank you. So if you are a member of a scientific community or a scientific society, like for example, I'm a member of the American Phytopathological Society, then you will be familiar with the journals that society is publishing. And these journals are the most recognized journal in the field because they are published by the society. The other advantage too is in publishing is if you are a member, you get a discounted publication fee. The other thing too is they also encourage publication from graduate students and early career scientists because they want to encourage them to publish their research. The third thing is because they are very field specific, that means your research is going to be recognized by scientists in your own field. So that will give you some name recognition. They also make some special coverage for papers written by graduate students. So you might make the cover of the journal if you are a graduate student and you have a good paper to publish there. So there is a lot of advantages of doing so. Also, these scientific societies usually spend a lot of money supporting graduate students and early career scientists and even scientists from developing countries. They provide what they call travel awards to help graduate students to go to scientific meetings or maybe to bring scientists from developing countries to participate in their annual meetings. They also have some, as I said before, some good discounts for those who have some membership. And also don't be shy to ask for fee waiver if you cannot afford publishing. If you don't have, let's say if you're funding your own research, like many people do in developing countries, you could bring that up and shoot them an email to say, okay, here is and the title and the abstract of a manuscript that I wrote. I believe it fits well within the scope of this journal, let's say. but unfortunately I don't have funding for the publication fee. I wonder if I could get some assistance with that. And usually they support. Usually they support, and it's not going to hurt you as long as you ask for it politely and only when you need it. So if you have funds, you don't have to ask for a fee waiver for sure. So if you pay some fee, you know, it's going to come back to graduate students and early. Some of it at least is going to come back to support graduate students and early career scientists. Also, you should consider publishing with not-for-profit organizations, because here they're not after the money; they're after helping people. And even if they charge some fee just to make sure that the employee who are working are receiving their paychecks, you know that this fee is going to be fair, and any revenue is going to go to profit, and it's not going to go to it's not going to be geared toward profit. It's going to be geared more towards, you know, their big goals and big aims, which is helping people and delivering knowledge to those who needs it. And here I would like to mention that CABI is a not-for-profit organization. So it delivers a lot of these knowledge to those who needs it for free in many cases, and or for the small subscription, like the subscriptions paid by libraries or knowledge banks in different countries too. So these are the types of advices that I would like to provide. The other thing is you need to make sure that the journal you're going to publish in is going to meet the requirements that you need. Yes, we say focus on the quality of the research, but if the journal doesn't meet the graduation requirement for your graduate school, that means publishing there is not going to help you. So until these rules change, we need to make sure that the journals meet the requirements. And here I have some advice to you, because if one of your colleagues in the lab published in a journal and it helped them graduate, doesn't mean that it's going to help you too, because sometimes journals get indexed and impact factor, and they get reviewed, and some of them are removed from indexing because they no longer meet the requirements. So you need to make sure that the journal is still indexed, is still impacted at the time of submission. Don't just rely on information that you receive from your colleagues. You have to double check it yourself. And go to the website. Sometimes they might advertise something on their website that's not true. So go to the impact factor producing agencies like Clarivate Analytica or Scopus, and make sure that you see it yourself. And the journal website that you are going to submit to is the same one as the one listed in the impact factor list, to make sure that yes, you're putting your publication in the right hands. The other thing too is if you want to receive some field prominence, if you want people in your field know your name, maybe you will think of a specialized journal, like the ones that I brought up from the American Phytopathological Society. If you want people in the field of plant pathology recognize your name, maybe those are the journals that you should publish in. The other thing too, if you want to receive more citation, maybe your promotion requires you to have a certain value of the H index, which we will come across in a moment. Then you need more citation. If you need more citation, then you don't need field specific, you need interdisciplinary journals, which is more general, that is being read by people in different disciplines, and therefore it's going to be cited by people in different disciplines too. The other thing too is you should consider the open access one if in case of you want to have more citations. But the problem is going to be the cost. So if you have funding, maybe that's not going to be a problem. But if you don't have funding, maybe that's going to be a limitation there, because the open source journals are being accessed by everyone. So people can read your paper more, download it more, and therefore cite it more. So these are the advices about the field and the scope. Also, you should consider the speed of publication. And in this regard, I have some advices that I would love to share with you. The first one is, if you want to publish quickly, maybe you should go to an established journal that has a record of fast publication. And that usually is being published on the journal's webpage, the homepage of the journal. If it's not there, that means it's not good. So if they don't say that, okay, the paper takes like 30 days or 60 days from submission to publication, then that means it's too long and they're not very proud of it, and that's why they're not posting it there. And these kind of information, you can get them from different places. So make sure that before you submit to the journal, you know how long on average it takes for a paper to be published there. Some new journals, publish quickly, but be careful because they're not impacted, and in some cases they might not be indexed too. So be careful of that too. The good advice that also I would like to share with you in this regard is regular versus special issues, because special issues are very good vehicle for your publication to be published both quickly and to gain name and field prominence and recognition. Special issues are issues of the journals that are designed around a specific topic. Therefore, the journal wants them to have many papers. They don't want them to be slim. They want them to be fat and to have a lot of knowledge around that special topic. Therefore, the likelihood of manuscripts being accepted there is higher, especially if you choose the right special issue for your topic. And if you write your manuscript specifically for the special issue, using the language that the special issue is looking for and the terminology the special issue is looking for. In this case, your paper is going to be published with all the big names in this topic specifically, and that will give you the name recognition and also will give you the speed publication. They usually have a due date that they have to be closed, the submission is closed at. So they too are under time pressure. So if you consider this, it's a very good publishing option. Again, if you don't have funding for publishing, don't shy of asking for support, because in some special issues they have some few slots. They typically have some few slots for good papers that they want them to be published, but the author doesn't have the funding to publish. And again, be considerate. So if you have funding, don't ask for a fee waiver. Save it for a different time when you don't have funding. If again, if the publication type, if you wanna, if you want to have your publication published in a journal, the journal scope has to match your publication type. So there are research journals, they publish research papers only. There are review journals, they publish review papers only. And there are practical journals, they publish practical papers only. So don't submit a practical paper for a review papers journal. Make sure that the scope fits the type of the publication matches the journal's type. And again, if you want to gain more citation, maybe you should look for review paper, because they still get more citation than you know, the research papers. Or maybe a methodology paper, because methodology papers tend to get more citations than the research papers do. Make sure the impact factor is appropriate for what you need. And also, again, if you want to increase your H index, which is the highest number of the paper with the number of papers with highest same number of citation. So if you want to do so, maybe you should look for Q1 journals, for open access journals. Q1 journals means that they receive more the highest percentile for citation, or the open access journals, as we said, or maybe the review journals, as we said, and maybe the methodology papers too, as we said. So these are the kind of advices and you know, considerations that should be taken into account when deciding on what to do for research, where to, how to do it for methodology, and where to publish it. So if you already finished your manuscript and you didn't have decided yet to where to publish, which is I advise you not to do. You should have that decision early on. Then you could, or maybe if you have a publication that you have submitted to a journal but was just rejected, then you end up with a manuscript, fully written manuscript in your hand, that you will think of a different journal that you should submit to. In this case, different publishers, you know, provide some platform for suggesting journals. This one, for example, is from Springer Nature, and here is the link for it. So they give you something like this, where you could plot your title of the manuscript. Some you know, platforms ask for the abstracts. Other, you know, platforms ask for the whole text of the manuscript. And also they ask you to select a subject area. And you could refine the recommendations if you want to go into the details. And then you ask them to suggest journals. They ask you to identify, if you want to refine, then you could set up the minimum impact factor, minimum acceptance rate, which is something that you should consider too, to see how, what is the percentage of publication accepted in that particular journal. Maximum to first decision, how long it's going to take them to get back to you to say, okay, yes, it's in our scope, it's going to be reviewed, or it's going to say, no, it's not in our scope. How long it's going to sit on the editor's desk before he gets back to you. And indexing services, where exactly you want your publication to be indexed. And then if you ask them to suggest journals, they will give you a long list of journals ordered as by relevance, let's say. As you would expect, most of these journals are going to be from the publisher that you're asking for recommendation. This is their platform, so you should expect they're going to promote their material. And that will apply for everyone, not just for Springer Nature, that will apply for everyone else. So my advice is, yes, do this if you need to, but don't buy from the first shop. You should just check different platforms and see what they agree on, and choose the best for yourself. With that, you should be ready to start writing your manuscript, because you should have decided on the journal before you write your manuscript. You will need to use the appropriate language. You need to use the appropriate format. You will need to use the appropriate design, And we will go over all these details and more in our next session, devoted exclusively for how you can best write your manuscript.
Thank you, Sayed, for the great presentation. Next week, please look where you have registered for this one. You have another session. Maybe you already have registered. So basically what I wanted to say, today we have done the first part of the presentation. Next week we're going to have the second part, and the week after we're going to do the third part, a journey on how to publish. Obviously we will have to do that little bit of introduction for the people they didn't come today on CABI, and also on how to use CABI. So there are many questions we have been trying to answer. Let me summarize very quickly. For the people who have registered, they will have the certificate because they have registered with their email address. So they will get the certificate via their email. But please give us some time because we have huge list of certificates to prepare. So bear in mind this might take some time. The second point is people are asking about, is this going to be recorded? Yes, it is recorded. Wherever you found this information, either your library or your consortium like CNUTS, ULAC, BEAM, SDL, EKB, you name it. So those organizations, if you request from them the link for the recording, so please ask them. Otherwise, if you are present next week, we will give you the link of the recordings. The third one, we're talking about Facebook. I have answered. We have Facebook, LinkedIn, we have all the social media. Please join, be part of CABI community. We have created a group called CABI Middle East and Africa on LinkedIn. Please feel free to join and be part of CABI community. So thank you very much for today's session. We will be again here next week, same time, to do the writing of the manuscript, and we will try to help you as well with any other questions that you might have in mind. Other than that, wish you a great day, and many thanks for your patience. I know it has been a little bit long, but I hope it was light and enjoyable. Have a great day. Otherwise, please ask a question. I'm going to leave it for another 2 minutes, and then I will try to answer any of your questions. Thank you again, Dr. Said, for your help and this great presentation.
Thanks so much, Mr. Ibrahim, for the opportunity, and thank you so much, everyone, for participating. I'll hang around too for a couple of minutes to answer any questions that might be directed to me. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm
You are muted, Abdul Wahab, if you hear us.
asking
Unmute
about.
yourself.
Yes. Hello. I'm asking about indexing. You tell me about the effect of indexing, FCI indexing, and Scopus indexing. For how will you choose for our manuscript for publishing in a HCI journal or an Scopus journal? So tell me something about that.
I have, as I promised, I have shared with you in the discussion a link on how you should be able to follow our CABI procedures, and also on how you should be, there is an email on where you should be contacting. It's a different department of CABI. Let me send that to you again in the text.
Okay.
Here is the guidance. I've just sent it to you. And then there is another link. It's a form where you could also find the email address.
Okay. Thank you.
So you email those our CABI, our department, and they will be able to ask you more details and ask you to fill in some questions, and then they assess it. I don't know if you looked at it into the chat. I have sent you that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Sir, the one more question about the time of publication. So, how will you choose the journal for early publication?
May I jump in, Brahim, for that question?
Yes.
Okay, so usually it is listed on the journal's website, and if it is not, usually the journal ranking on Clarivate Analytica or Scopus will have it. So, and if you can't find it either ways, you could check some of some of the papers that was recently published, maybe in the last issue, and on each paper you will find when it was submitted, when it was revised, and when it was finally accepted, and that will give you an idea about how long it takes to accept papers in that, if they're not giving you the information directly. So these are three different ways for you to have an idea about when you expect.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sure,
For the
my
people who
pleasure.
are asking for the social media, please go to CABI.org, and then on the right corner, you're going to find Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything. However, Hazem asked me for the Facebook page. I did send you the link. Okay, so now I'm going to end the call. Thank you very much for today, and I will see you hopefully next week for the second part of our journey. So Amina, she was asking an email about CABI session. Can you please send us certificates to this email?
Okay, je reprends.
I'm not sure, Amina, if we can do that because the certification needs to be for people who are registered, but we will see. Okay, so have a good evening. Thank you very much. Bye now. Yes, we did say that you get it by email if you have registered. Many thanks. Okay, bye now. See you next week. Please be here next week. Thank you.